Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, starring your host, Christian Reitz.
Hot dog! Let's go!
Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, a show that incorporates disabilities with the magic of Disney. Welcome to episode number 9, entitled Disney After Dark. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Again, that's hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. And now, here is your host, Christian Reitz. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Disabled Podcast. In a special episode, a special two-part episode that we're calling Disney After Dark. In these next two episodes, as of episode 9 today and episode 10 here in just a couple weeks, we're going to be talking about all about the after-hours events, the Christmas parties, the Halloween parties, and so much more that there is to do at Disney World after dark. So what happens when the park closes? You know, we have a normal park day and all of that's going great. What happens after the park closes, though? Did you know that there are special events that happen once the sun sets? Especially after the hours are, or the normal park operating hours are over? Well, again, in this two-part episode, we're going to be talking all about the Disney After Dark events. So let's go ahead and start talking about the after-hours events at the Walt Disney World Resort. Now, for those of you that might be asking, what are after-hours events? Again, like I just said a minute ago, basically what the after-hours events are events that happen after the normal park operating hours, such places like Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios. Those are the three main parks that will have any after-hours events that are happening after the normal park hours are open to all guests of all Disney theme parks. Now, what I do want to mention about these after-hours events for the Magic Kingdom and for all the other theme parks is that these are actually specially ticketed events, which means you have to have a ticket that is separate from your general admission cost for a normal Disney day. So if you have general admission to the theme park for that morning, that actually will not get you into the theme park for that evening. So you'll have to leave eventually by like 6 p.m. In order for these after hours events, which go from 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. the very next morning. So again, those prices for that specific event, typically they run from $129 to $149 per person, and that's really just depending on the night. Now, just a heads up, if you do purchase tickets in advance, which I highly recommend that you do at these events, you might even on Disney's website, which is disneyworld.disney.go.com, you might snag a special discount. Now, again, that's just depending on the event or things that are happening. And what these events actually allow you to do is a few different things. Number one, you get to stay after the park closes. Number two, shorter wait times on all the rides. All the rides in the Magic Kingdom have a shorter wait time, typically only like 20 to 30 minutes max. I've heard of some friends of mine that have had like 30 minutes max waits for things like Tron or things like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or things like that. So again, you want to make sure that you go on Disney World's website when booking your trip and snagging those discounts that pop up. You never know when they're gonna pop up, so make sure you go check out that Disney website to find out when they're gonna pop up and to snag your discount today. Now, when it comes to accessibility, of course, you know we all know that Disney is the most accessible place in Florida. So accessibility again is very important, especially when it comes to enjoying these magical moments of the Disney After Hours. Now, Disney has made significant strides in ensuring that all guests can participate. Now, the After Hours events offer wheelchair rentals and have many attraction kiosks that are equipped to help those with special needs. And if you require additional support, do not hesitate to ask a cast member that is on site. Remember, they're there to help you out with all these experiences. So again, After Hours events, shorter wait times. It almost feels like you get the park to yourself. So again, go check out Disney's website if you want to find out more information on the Disney's After Hours events, even more than what I'm saying right now in this podcast. Now, I want to talk about something that's actually not a part of the Disney After Hours events or the Disney After Dark type of events, and that is, of course, the festivals of Epcot. So I want to finish off this episode by talking about all the Epcot festivals that you can experience year round over at Epcot. And then in the next episode, we're going to talk about the Christmas parties, the Halloween parties, and everything else there is to do after dark. So, moving on, let's not forget about the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. Now, this is an event that is actually included with your park admission. So, guests can actually purchase tasting samplers to try small plates from around the world. And this annual event runs from mid-July to mid-November each year, and usually prices for these, for the samples at least, can vary, but each small plate usually costs between $4 to $10, and it's honestly a fantastic opportunity to experience global culinary magic. So again, one of the things that I've learned about a festival like the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival is that sometimes, and this is a tip I'll give all of my listeners and viewers, whether you're watching me on YouTube or you're listening to me on Spotify or Apple Podcast, is that sometimes what I've learned is that the cheapest options usually are the better options. Now, they're not going to give you like a full course meal, but what they're going to do is they're going to give you little plates of everything you want to try. And again, they have so many different options to choose from. You'll actually see a kiosk, like a little stand outside of the kiosk that you want to go to, whether that's in China, Norway, Germany, Canada, and you'll actually see a little sign outside that'll have all the options for you to try out the prices, all the beverages you can purchase. But again, for food options, I recommend that you always get the cheapest option because that is the option that is the cheapest. But not only is it the cheapest, it's also the freshest option. Now, I can't talk about Epcot festivals and leave out one of my favorite festivals, which is the Festival of the Arts, the Epcot International Festival of the Arts, which take place over weekends from mid-January to late February. Now, this is all about visual, culinary, and also performing arts, such as one of my favorite events that happens at this festival, which is the Disney on Broadway concert series. Now, the Disney on Broadway concert series features stars who originated roles from different Disney movies that eventually went to Broadway. So, for instance, Mary Poppins, The Lion King, Newsies, all these different Broadway stars originated these roles on the stage from all these different kinds of Disney movies that went to Broadway. Now, while admission is covered with your Epcot ticket, there are several interactive workshops and special culinary experiences with different admission rates. Now, prices for these can range anywhere from $35 to $125 depending on the workshop. Now, of course, for my wheelchair friends as well, accessibility is a priority here as well, because with most of the artistic displays and the workshops, they're located in accessible areas, and the staff is always on standby to help you with any special requirements that you may need. Now, lastly, I want to touch on some seasonal extras like the Flower and Garden Festival in the spring, or the Festival of the Holidays during the festive season around Christmas time from November through December. Now, these events, the same will apply for all the other festival events. It is included with your theme parking admission, but you do have to pay for all the festival food booths for both events. Now, these events offer something unique every year, so things change quite often, and these events are perfect for families and friends to gather and to create lasting memories. So, in summary, no matter which Disney special event you attend, there's a bounty of joy, magic, and accessibility catered specifically for everyone. Now, of course, remember to check the official Disney World website for the latest updates for discounts and booking information, as well as the My Disney Experience app for Apple and for Android. And also, because you're supposed to, be sure to have a fantastic time during your visit. Now, on the next episode, we're going to talk about Mickey's Not Too Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, which take place at Magic Kingdom. And also, we're going to talk about the newly appointed event at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which is Disney's Jollywood Nights. Well, guys, that's the end of episode number 9 of the Disable Podcast. Hey, be sure to go like us on Facebook at the Disable Podcast. And also be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify so you don't miss any of the fun during these types of podcasts. And be sure to go check out the official merch store for the Disable Podcast with new products that we're uploading every 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, don't want to miss it, guys. We've got some great products in store coming up for, especially for the holiday seasons like Halloween and Christmas, and eventually the new year of 2025. Now, if you liked today's episode and you found it very helpful, be sure to subscribe and tell all your friends about the Disabled Podcast. Leave a review. Share this podcast out to all your social media platforms with the hashtag the Disabled Podcast across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever y'all do for social media platforms. Be sure to share it if you found all the information for today's podcast helpful. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see ya
Real soon.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see ya real soon.